Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Sausan Salsabila and I am a student of accounting education. Today I'm going to explain an important topics about taxes. It's called Notices of Tax Assessment. Okay, so before we go to the next topic, we have to know about the definition of Notices of Tax Assessment. What is that? And have you ever heard about it? Or has something like that ever happened to you? So, basically, a tax assessment or Notices of Tax Assessment is an officially document issued by the tax authority. It states the correct amount of tax payable, the correct tax, any overpayment, or even a nil position. And this kind of assessment can be issued to both individuals and companies. So, today's highlight, we have to know about 4 types of Notices of Tax Assessment letter. So, what is this for? First one is Notice of Tax Underpayment Assessment. Number 2, Notice of Tax Overpayment Assessment. Number 3, Notice of Nil Tax Assessment. And number 4, Notice of Additional Tax Underpayment Assessment. So, the next one is, what is the definition of Notice of Tax Underpayment Assessment? So, in this session, we will look into the first one. A tax assessment letter includes several key details: the principal tax, the tax credit, the amount underpaid, any administrative sanction, and the total amount still payable. It is issued when the Directorate General of Tax or DGP from Indonesia finds the differences between what the taxpayer report and what the audit discovers. That's the definition of this type of tax underpayment assessment. So, we go to the next page. So, Notice of Tax Underpayment Assessment. This is issues into what condition? First, when the audit shows that the taxpayer has not paid enough tax, and this happened when the taxpayer report income, expenses, or tax credit do not match the evidence found during the audit, resulting in a higher amount of tax that should have been paid. Or second, number 2, when the taxpayer does not submit their tax return even after receiving a written reminder. In this case, the taxpayer has failed to meet their basic reporting obligation to the tax authority determines the tax amount on their behalf using available data. This situation reflects that the government effort to upholding fair and accurate tax. This assessment ensures that the taxpayers fulfill their responsibilities according to their actual tax burden. And we have to know the example of this kind of underpayment tax. So let's look at the example. The tax payable was initially 350 million rupiah, and this amount is subtracted by the tax credit 325 million rupiah, resulting in 25 million rupiah of tax underpayment. So, because of the net income changed to 350 million rupiah and the tax was underpaid for 11 months, the penalty is calculated using the 11-month period, right? Multiplied by 2% because the sanction is 2% per month. So we multiplied by 2% and multiplied by the underpaid tax is this given 5,100,000 rupiah. And finally, we add the underpayment and the sanction, so the total payable becomes 30,500,000 rupiah. Okay, so the next three types of notices are notices of nil tax assessment. These are a tax decision stating that the amount of tax payable equals to the tax credit amount, or that no tax is owed and no tax credit exists. So it means both are zero, like the taxpayer neither owes additional tax nor has paid too much. Of course, it issues after an audit shows that the tax credit or the amount paid equals to the tax due. And let's take a look at the example. So, PT-CDE submit its corporate income tax return for the 2024 fiscal year, declaring a loss with these following details. It means this taxpayer neither owes additional tax nor has paid too much. You can take a look at this. He hasn't any tax underpayment at all. So this PT-CDE didn't owe additional tax nor has paid too much. If based on the result of an audit, the actual net loss should be 50 million. So the income tax payable is nil. Still nil because it's the same. And we can take a look of the next types of notices of tax assessment. It's called Notices of Tax Overpayment Assessment, or SKPLB. It determines the amount of tax overpayment when the tax credit exceeds the tax payable or when the tax shouldn't have been due. The tax overpayment may occur under this following condition. So, the tax overpayment can occur because of excessive withholding payment that exceed the tax due or tax collected when it should not have been collected. This usually happens when the withholding agent deducts more tax than necessary, or when taxpayers make payment based on incorrect calculation. As long as the amount has not been credited or recorded as an expense, the taxpayer may request a refund. This rule ensures that taxpayers do not claim a refund on amount already used as tax deduction or business expenses. And for the next example. In this example, PT ABC submit its corporate income tax return for 2025 fiscal year. The tax payable was 350 million rupiah. This amount is subtracted from the tax credit of 450 million rupiah, and so it's resulting in 100 million rupiah. The amount becomes the official overpayment state in the assessment. Okay, we go to the next types of notices. Is notice of additional tax underpayment assessment issued when new data is found that increase the previously assessed tax. The sanction applied is 100% increase of the additional tax. So, as I said before, it can happen when the taxpayer has new data or undisclosed data, right? So it is because information not disclosed by taxpayer which affect the tax amount after audit or not reported in the tax return, incomplete or unclear information during reassessment, and preventing accurate tax calculation. So we have to look in the example. In this example, the principal tax was originally 400 million rupiah. After subtracting the tax credit of 212 million rupiah, the underpayment was 188 million rupiah. Later, the new data showed an additional 50 million rupiah of tax that should have been reported. This additional amount received 100% penalty, right? Penalty is also 50 million rupiah. When both are added, the taxpayer must pay 100 million rupiah in additional tax. Okay, that concludes our discussion on the 4 types of tax assessment letter is SKPKB, SKPN, SKPLB, and SKPKBT. And I hope today's explanation helps you understand these types of tax assessments more clearly. And our learning ends here, and I truly look forward to meeting you again, guys, in the next learning session. Thank you so much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.